what you're thinking. Tell me just what's on your mind. What you drinking? Is that whiskey?
Los Angeles, what is up? It is here. We are here. The time has come. Anthony Davis has arrived. Welcome to the Showtime Forum podcast. We are your hosts, Real Barbone and Golden GFX. And back again is Twitter's Jewish Jim Hill, a.k.a. Greg Bergman.
What's up, fellas? Thanks
One
for
and
having me
only.
Hey,
Yeah.
let's be clear, man. That's a compliment, all right? You're everywhere.
Hey, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Jim Hill is a legend.
Yeah,
no
for sure.
problem here.
Yeah, he gets the first question all the time, you know? So
Yeah.
Hey, I'll take it anytime.
Well, okay, fine. All right, well, you know. Well, if you guys want to drop a line, you guys can always reach us at Showtime Forum. Obviously, we're on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. So now that we got those things done, let's get into it, man. Anthony Davis has arrived. It's been 2 years in the making, but we're finally here. So, was it worth it?
I mean, how could you say it's not worth it? All the draft picks, the players that went out, you're losing Ingram, losing Lonzo, losing Hart. You got Anthony Davis, and if you win one championship with Anthony Davis and LeBron James, 1,000% worth it.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure, dude.
yeah, absolutely. I agree. I mean, and that's the whole point, right? Since the trade deadline, it's about getting Anthony Davis here, and then from there we'll kind of go and see what happens. And man, I think we have one of the best, maybe top 3 best duos in the NBA, and we just got to surround them with talent. I think we're good to go.
Well, that's the crazy thing is, even though this is done, you still have people complaining. And I mean, I guess that kind of goes back to the fact that we're spoiled as Laker fans. But
Yeah.
it's crazy to me that people are still complaining about this.
It's always, oh, you gave up too much, or now you have no room, or let's just take this really quickly. When the season starts, they will have 15 players on their roster. They will have a full roster, whatever way it happens to be. They will have a full roster. They'll fill the spaces with mid-level exception, the room exception, whatever all the exceptions there are. You're gonna get veterans minimums. You're gonna have extra draft picks here. We're gonna get some second round picks by buying in or whatever happens. You will have a full roster, and all that matters is that you have Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and then even Kyle Kuzma.
Right, yeah. It's always like people were saying even during the deadline, it's like, okay, you're going to get Anthony Davis and LeBron, and then, who are you going to have? Who for the next 5 years, it's going to be only them. It's like, we're not going to start Bonga at point guard. We're not going to,
Right.
we're going to get some players. It's just a matter of, like I said, assembling these guys together and then kind of take it from there.
Can you understand real fast? Sorry, Ray. Can you understand the draft picks just really quick? This is what it drives me. I understand that the Pelicans have control over the Lakers draft for the next 7 years.
Right.
That sounds terrible. You can't give away first round picks 2 years in a row and they basically control of them. I get that the assets are important. But let's look at it. So you lost 2019 number 4 pick. Obviously, that's gone. 2020 is yours. You're drafting in 2020. In 2021, it's top 8 unprotected. So if something goes terribly wrong and the Lakers end up in the top 8, which we assume is not going to happen, you lose your pick. But 9 through 30, that's the Lakers pick. So you're drafting 2 years in a row, 2020, 2021. You've lost 2022. 2023 is just a pick swap.
Yeah.
So it is the choice of the Pelicans if they want to swap that pick, right? So
Yeah.
if you're at the end of the draft, which you're expecting to be at that point with Anthony Davis and whatever else comes in, and you're not going to lose that pick probably either. And then 2024, the Pelicans then have a right to decide, we don't want it this year. We'll take it next year in 2025. So you're going to keep most of your picks. You're only losing 3 picks in the next 7 years. It's not as bad as it seems.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but that goes back to the narratives that have been going around. I mean, dude, if you listen to anything right now, I mean, the majority of it is just negative Laker bashing. We weren't going to land Anthony Davis. We weren't going to land LeBron James. We're not going to land a 3rd star. I mean, it's like been going on for like how many years now? And people still sit here and what?
You sound like Woj. Everything you're saying. Are you just quoting Woj right now?
You know what? Let me bring it up real quick because I think I might be actually. Yeah, you know what's funny, and I mean this doesn't really have to do with Woj, but something interesting that I found out was you guys familiar with Lee Jenkins?
Yeah, of
Lee
course.
Jenkins,
He's over
right?
with the Clippers now.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So I didn't really know too much about Lee Jenkins up until recently. And as I was looking into it, I was sitting here. I read an article that came out like in September, I think, on Bleacher Report. And they were talking about how, Lee Jenkins was coming on and as what was the exact title they gave him? I'll have to look at the title, but they were pretty much talking about how he was going to come on, and it sounded like he was joining the Clippers to pretty much create a narrative and push the narrative through his infinite sources. And once I kind of was reading into this, I was kind of like, whoa, that's kind of what's been going on this whole year. I know I've been saying, like, where the hell has this Kawhi Leonard to the Clippers thing just kind of popped out of? Because last I heard, he wanted to be a Laker, and then all of a sudden the season gets going, and it's all about the Clippers and the Raptors.
You know who can answer your question about Kawhi Leonard? The biggest Kawhi Leonard to Lakers fan. Go ahead, Greg.
I say, hey, don't misrepresent me now, Javi. That's not fair. I think that it's possible that Kawhi Leonard could end up as a Laker. I think that the Lakers are going to do whatever it takes to get to that $32.5 million or 32.7, whatever the numbers happen to be. But I think that it's possible that if Kawhi Leonard leaves Toronto, I just don't see why he's going to go to the Clippers. As much as all these different pundits and everybody are saying that he's going to be a Clipper, I just see him as a Laker, and that's just my own personal opinion. But at the same time, it's crazy to me if you think that Rob Pelinka and this Lakers front office is not going to try and do whatever they can to get to that max free agent spot. Now is the time. You have Kevin Durant injured for the year. You have Klay Thompson out for most of the year. Milwaukee has things that they need to figure out. If you take away Kawhi Leonard from Toronto, they're not that good. Boston is kind of in flux. They don't know what's happening with Kyrie. It's a bunch of young guys. They lost Al Horford. I mean, Brooklyn. There's all these teams out in the East, you have no idea what's going to happen with them. And there's not a ton of movement in the West besides, Mike Conley going to the Jazz was a big deal, but it's still the Jazz. So, they look good. That is a good, strong team now. But still, I mean, the Lakers, if you give them three superstars, they're easily the best team in the West in just the NBA.
And what's to say that Kuzma's not even that third star at this point, or can be that third star? I mean, that's it. If you get a third star, then you're talking about Kyle Kuzma as your number 4.
Actually, about Kyle Kuzma, I think that's something we just forget about in the conversation. Whenever we say, the Lakers have Anthony Davis and LeBron and then, whoever else. But we always forget Kyle Kuzma is actually on the team as well. He's not a bad third option right off the bat, but I know we're still looking for other players. As Greg just touched on it, the Eastern Conference, got weak. But let's look at the Western Conference as well. The Rockets, who were, right there against the Warriors, they're having troubles of their own as well. So, he mentioned the injuries as well with the Warriors. I mean, pretty much we're looking at maybe battling against, the Blazers and the Nuggets. And, they're kind of a young team as well. So, I mean, having LeBron James, if we put him in a position to get in the playoffs and then go from there, I think we have a really good opportunity here.
No, absolutely. And it's just kind of interesting that people are getting so upset about all these things. And bye, Ray. See you later, buddy.
We'll see you later.
That was fun. But I mean, this team is just going to be so much better than a lot of other teams, and it's crazy to me if anybody thinks that they're just not going to compete with or have a full roster or compete with other teams. I'm sorry, maybe I'm just wearing my purple and gold glasses, but it makes too much sense that this team is going to be better.
Dude, wear them with pride, man. Wear them with pride. Because honestly, at this point, we got no. What's the worst case scenario here? We don't land Kyrie. We don't land Kawhi. We don't land that third max guy. But now we could possibly have up to 32. Eric Pink was talking about maybe even 38 was possible to spend on. We got a lot of solid reserves that are out there that we can pick up. I mean, you got Trevor Ariza, Patrick Beverley. I know you're a big Bogdanovich fan.
I mean, he's a good player.
I don't know, man. I don't think I've heard Bogdanovich's name more than I've heard it come out of your mouth.
Well, it's because he's a prototypical player that would go alongside LeBron, who is just a shooter. He is a very good shooter. The problem is that he costs a lot of money. You're probably going to have to pay between $12-18 million. I don't know the numbers for them, but you're going to have to put up a good chunk of money to get him, and that's going to take a large piece of what you're looking for if you're getting multiple players out of that 24 to 32 million, whatever it turns out to be.
Yeah, but it's as you just said, Ray. It's not the end of the world if we don't get a third star because, again, we already have our foundation of Kyle Kuzma, Anthony Davis, and LeBron. If we strike out on a third superstar, how many teams in the NBA have 3 superstars? I mean, let's think about it realistically. Not
none.
many. I mean, it was just the Warriors. So, I mean, if we strike out, the media is going to turn, the Lakers couldn't get a third star. That's fine. But that just gives us so much more money to work with to get these role players in, as you guys just touched on. If it's going to be, players like Bogdanovich or JJ Redick, Danny Green, like there's so much talent out there that we can add to this team. Yeah. And it really just boggles my mind how people just focus on a third star. It doesn't have to be a third star.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, and the tough part right now is that, just for full clarification, we're recording this on Wednesday night. The draft is tomorrow. Everything that we're talking about could be completely null and void tomorrow because the Lakers do something crazy and end up trading away like everybody, the Bonga, Jamario Jones, and Wagner to another team, whether it be Minnesota or Cleveland or whoever decides to take on those contracts. Mm-hmm. And they're at that 32, and you get the idea that, by next week we have Kawhi Leonard saying, like, I want to be a Laker, or Kyrie Irving says, all right, I'm going to rejoin LeBron James out here in LA, and we'll and that's our big 3. It's all these things are possible, and they could all happen essentially tomorrow.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, you could even talk about some of the younger guys, and you got, I mean, it might be a little far fetched, but I mean, even D'Angelo Russell's out there, Julius Randle, ex-Lakers. Dude, I know, I'm not saying they
Red's
are, but I'm
gonna love that one. I know, right?
It's not for the player. I think both D'Angelo Russell and Julius Randle are very, very good players. They're both going to cost too much. If you're not going to get a superstar, if you're not getting Kawhi mostly, and maybe you can argue with me to get Kyrie into that conversation, but that's it. Those are the two. Those are the two that I'm willing to give 32 point whatever to. Yeah. And D'Angelo Russell is going to cost way too much money. So is Julius Randle. They have the Aaron Mintz part of it where he's the agent for those guys that does not get along with the Lakers, obviously. Right. So those guys they don't deserve the amount of money that we're going to give them. They're going to deserve that money, but they're going to get it on another team. There's so much cap space out there that people are going to overpay for a lot of guys.
Right. And we're at a point basically, sorry, Ray, we're at a point basically to where if we go ahead and strike out, I think we should have a cutoff. Like, let's say, okay, if we don't get Kawhi, if we don't get Kyrie, that's where it ends, man. And then now let's split it up. You don't have to get a second tier star as far as maybe like Kemba Walker or, anybody else like D'Angelo Russell. You don't have to throw money at second tiers just because you strike out on the big fish. At that point, there has to be that cutoff line that you just break that up into multiple players.
Yeah, no, definitely. Honestly, if Toronto didn't prove that already, I don't know what else we could really do to prove it. I mean, Toronto didn't have a big 3, and they took out the Golden State Warriors, maybe the best team ever, possibly. And they're at least in the argument.
Oh, they are. And that is one of the best teams ever, but they did not have the best player in basketball probably right now in Kevin Durant. Klay Thompson went down for multiple games and was lost in that last game and midway through. So, and the Warriors still almost came back and won that game. But these are situations where you lost your bigger players. And I get it. The Warriors got through other teams because of injuries, but it's a difference. So Toronto is not a destination. The Lakers are a destination. You can go out and pay for these guys. You can make the money work to do that. You can do that. People want to come to LA. People don't want to go to Toronto. They don't want to go to Milwaukee. They don't want to go, to these other places that just obviously from what we're seeing, they don't want to go to Boston. So Lakers are in a much different situation. So when we sit here talking about like, well, look what Toronto did. Toronto did it because that's the way they had to do it. The Lakers don't have to do it that way. And we had throughout the time that we've been Laker fans and the Lakers have been around, they win with stars. They don't win with that, with just a bunch of good, strong, scrappy players.
But honestly, let's say, okay, so let's go through a hypothetical situation. Let's say we do strike out We don't bring in Kawhi. We don't bring in Kyrie. No other big name max guy is signed. So now we're just filling out the team. We're going to fill out the roster with reserve guys. Sure. So let me pull up the free agency list real quick right now. So obviously we're going to have LeBron at 3. We're going to have, is AD playing the 4, I'm assuming? He he's playing the 4, right?
Yeah, he doesn't want to play the 5, but, down the stretch, if you want to go big, because obviously Kuzma will probably stay on the floor at the end of games, and that would be really big. So I think he would play the 5 in that role, be a more stretch 5. Kuzma can play the 4 or 3, and, whatever works best defensively at that time in the playoffs.
Yeah. So, I mean, does Kuzma come off the bench, or is he going to find a way to start? I mean, because the only thing I see him is maybe at the 2, but he's not the fleetest of foot for sure.
I don't think he comes off the bench. I mean, as far as right now, I feel like the Lakers kept him for a reason. I don't think they kept him for him to just be a 6-man. I think they actually believe in what he can do. And, I mean, to me, he's the type of player that should start. He can put up, good buckets. He's very skilled. He can score in multiple ways. And, I mean, to me, he's just a starter, and he's going to keep getting better. Obviously, his ceiling isn't the best. It's not what Brandon Ingram's was when he was here. But at the same time, it's a solid player that you can start and roll with.
See, I don't disagree with you necessarily. I just think that I agree that they kept him around for a reason. But I don't know if the reason was so much for him as the player itself. I think it more has to do with the fact that he is cheap. That he is ready to play alongside LeBron right now. He was, if we want to be honest, both of Ingram and Lonzo were better than Kyle Kuzma, or were going to be better, and they also cost more. There was also some discussion, whether true or not, about some people think that Josh Hart was the better of the two between those guys. I think Kuzma was kept around more so for his cost efficiency, and for the amount of years that he's on. And the fact that he can come off the bench and be the scorer that you're talking about. So he can be the Lamar Odom type guy, where I know they're different players, but the 6-man off the bench that just puts up buckets over and over again and keeps things, because you're most likely going to keep one of Anthony Davis or LeBron out on the floor for most times anyway. So my ideal role personally for Kuzma is as a 6-man.
I mean, I could see that. I can see that. But just for the sake of argument, let's say he starts at the 2, right? So they leaves a spot open at point guard and
it's a
center.
big 2.
As long as he doesn't play
about
5 anymore, that's the only thing. To play him at the 5, just don't do that.
Yeah, we don't need to see that again.
Yeah, but I mean, Kuzma's 6'8", so that's not too far fetched. I mean, you've had some big shooting guards in the past. Steve Smith. Who else? Kobe was 6'6", not too far off.
Yeah, but can you imagine, he's 6'9". Can you imagine him trying to chase CJ McCollum around the court?
Yeah.
I mean, that Kuzma is not the best, is not the most fleet of foot. He's not the best defender in the world. I just can't see him guarding some of these 2s. Bradley Beal, you want to see him guarding Bradley Beal? I don't.
All right. So let's go with Greg's scenario here. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and leave Kuzma on the bench. All right. So now we got spots open at the 1, the 2, and the 5. So who are we filling in those spots with? Personally, I would love to see Brook Lopez come back at the 5. I think he great compliment to Anthony Davis. Can step out, shoot the 3, big body. And then the problem is, do we bring in like a small ball center type?
You could. And also, so at the center position, I think you see JaVale McGee come back as a backup. I think that would be, even if he starts alongside of Anthony Davis, if he wants to be in the 4, he can do that. You probably want a bigger, stronger center if you're going to do that kind of deal, so that he can guard some of the bigger men that are down, like the Vucevic's and the Jokic's and those types of guys. So personally, I mean, those are, I'm not really sure where else they would go in those situations, but I would see a bigger style 5 if that's the way they're going to go.
Right, yeah. Something like Brook Lopez, I mean, it'd just be perfect. It was a mistake to let him go in the first place, just because he's such a good three-point shooter, and you don't really need him to do much more. I know he's not a great rebounder, but he sticks to what he does. JaVale McGee, bringing him back, I think it would be a good idea. He did have his issues just when he had those health issues for a bit there. Other than that, the beginning and the end of the season were good. Another name, that DeAndre Jordan, that a lot of people have been kind of bringing up, he might want more money, but if he's willing to take a lesser deal, can you imagine DeAndre Jordan and Anthony Davis meeting you at the rim, I mean, that's tough to get by, as far as the center position goes.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I think he's gonna be out of our
Cost range.
Yeah, out of our cost range. But yeah, I would love DeAndre Jordan for sure. So then we got the 2 and the 1. So as far as the 1 goes, I mean, we're looking at maybe like the likes of like Ricky Rubio, Isaiah Thomas is out there. Who else is out there? We got
Darren Collison.
Rondo, maybe?
Darren Collison, Patrick Beverly.
What do you guys think about maybe bringing Rondo back?
Not as a starter. I feel like he's one of those guys that is at most a veterans minimum, low minutes guy that's just hopefully to be maybe some kind of leadership role in the locker room, but not really playing much. And I think Rondo's a guy that wants to play, and I don't think his style of play is going to end up fitting on this team. While I'm not totally opposed to it because of his smarts and how he does play in the postseason, I just don't think he's going to want to have more control over things than he's going to have here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to Ricky Rubio, man. I love Ricky Rubio's game.
Yeah,
especially now that he's developed a 3-point shot.
I mean, develop the 3-point shot is, tough to really against the Lakers.
You're giving him you're giving him too much credit, but I mean, he's solid. I mean, if we get Ricky Rubio, obviously his shot is his knock, but he's a really good ball handler, man. Like the way he can distribute the ball, imagine him with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, man. That would be some great basketball to watch.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what he would be kind of like the Lonzo Ball role. In that, if you can get him, depending on how much he costs, everything is cost sensitive at this point.
Right.
So, but I feel like you can get Darren Collison to do basically the same things and is a much better 3-point shooter than Rubio at a cheaper price. So maybe he would be a guy that's willing to take just a little bit less to try and go ring chasing a little bit. Right. So that could be a good fit here. And I think because I'm not sure the exact numbers and I'd have to look it up, but I believe he shot over 40% from 3-point range, like 44, 45% from 3-point range. So that's exactly what you want. A guy that can distribute the ball, hit 3-pointers, and find Anthony Davis and LeBron James open consistently.
Yeah, my problem with Darren Collison is it feels like the ego might be a little too big. I don't know if I want to add another. I mean, there's a reason the guy's. How many teams has he been on since he joined?
He's been on quite a few.
There's a reason for that, right?
Yeah, he was in Indiana, Sacramento.
Started off with the Hornets.
New Orleans, yeah. So.
Well, in New Orleans, remember
guys bounce around.
Yeah. I mean, I get that too. But I'm not saying I'm opposed to him. I'm just saying I would probably rather go with like a Pat Beverly. I just feel like you have to surround LeBron with as many good defenders as possible. Right.
How many? And I think he's a willing defender, so that's a good thing. But how many teams do you think Tobias Harris has been
on? Maybe 5?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Do you think he's a good player? So Milwaukee, Orlando, Detroit, the Clippers, and Philly. Yeah, he's a good player. He's young and he's been on 5 different teams.
Yeah, I wouldn't knock somebody for being around the league. There's always those players, whether it's a Kyle Korver, JJ Redick, J.R. Smith back in the day, players like that, they can always contribute to a team, but it's just not necessarily enough to where you want to give them a lengthy contract. But if you can find those players that can, come and do their job, I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Yeah, and looking at Darren Collison's stats, so he shot about 40% this season, actually down from 46% the previous year.
Yeah, so he can get there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. There's just so many possibilities right now. At the 2, you got so many guys. You got J.J. Redick. Kyle Korver, I'm assuming, is going to get waived by Memphis. He would be ideal. I would love Kyle Korver on this squad.
What is he, 38 right now? 38?
Who cares, man? That guy can dude, he could shoot the freaking lights out.
Just knock down a couple, right?
Exactly. Bringing him in for 15 minutes, have him take 6 or 7, and just knock him down.
I mean, fine by me.
Yeah, you want to bring somebody in for 15 minutes? Bring in Carmelo Anthony,
Oh, well, you're gonna get Donnie really upset by saying that.
Yeah, no, let's not go there right now. Right. So, obviously we're going through these scenarios and everything, and it's there's just so many different possibilities. But what do you guys think is the biggest? What do you think would have happened if this 24/7 article by David Lord that was put out 2 days ago or a day ago? What do you think?
Yesterday.
What do you think would have happened if that article was never put out. Because ever since that, I feel like ever since that article got put out, it's been like one thing after another. Next capologist coming on saying, oh no, we can actually get 32, 38, 28, whatever the case is, right?
All right. Well, David Lord, that article was good. It was extremely confusing. I was very difficult reading through that, being like, oh, so this means this and this means this, but no, I don't get it. There's a lot of crazy capologist nonsense in there. That's why they get paid so much. But if he didn't put that out, Eric Pincus still had that from Basketball Insiders, already had that out pinned to his profile on Twitter for the last like 4 or 5 days, basically saying this exact same thing. Yeah. But I guess I don't know what the reasoning behind it was. It's just that sometimes it's that outside voice that people don't really know that gets people to be like, oh, this makes sense. And this guy was a Dallas Mavericks or is a Dallas Mavericks fan. So he has nothing in the hunt for the Lakers. So it's like, oh, well, this is an outside guy saying it, where Eric Pincus writes strictly about the Lakers.
Right.
So it seems almost like Laker love too much there, I guess. But and also it goes against the narrative that's being put out by. I mean, look, I work at ESPN. It's at the media, us. We put out this narrative that everything the Lakers do is wrong, and that's to me, that's just talking points. When you actually look at it, there's a lot of good in there.
So you're saying there's a chance.
There's always a chance, all right?
No, it's funny because I mean, just listening to like Mason in Ireland, Sedano, everywhere's Bobby Marks, Eric Pincus. Now we got this guy from Twitter, and it's like we all became math majors in like the past couple of days, just listening to everything. My head's spinning. I'm just like, wait, so maybe there's a chance. I mean, I don't understand all the basics of what they're talking about sometimes, but as long as there's a chance, man, I'm happy.
Well, it's just like what you guys just had Harrison Fagan on, and he tweeted out something along the lines of, I'm so happy we got rid of the number 4 pick because now I don't have to pretend to be a college basketball expert anymore, or a draft expert. And he's right. Yeah. We're not draft experts. We don't watch any college basketball. And right now we're not cap experts. And we don't do this for a living. We don't normally look at how much money needs to go here and there and what team needs to do what. But right now, everybody is the expert, and it's amazing to watch.
Yeah. Oh man, this has been a fun week, man. Honestly, but I think out of all of this, I think I'm just happy that it's done. I'm happy that we can move on to the next step, right? And I'm hoping that this next step comes in the next 30 days because I really I can't take another like 4 months of talking about the same thing.
Well, you got at least a week, Ray. So you need to get to at least July 1st. For this all to kind of go away, because how long did it take for us to forget that the Lakers got Anthony Davis to became, what about Kawhi Leonard?
Right. So, yeah.
The life of a Laker fan.
Right. It was faster than the Toronto Raptors winning the NBA Finals. Everybody forgot about it. We already forgot that Anthony Davis is going to play next to LeBron James. They have 2 top 5 players in the NBA. No other team has that. It's insanity, and they should be this good, but we're worried about Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the media just made us focus on. And, it actually starts tomorrow with the draft. We'll see what Rob Pelinka can cook up there for some second-round picks. Maybe we'll see some moves kind of start waving there.
Yeah, I heard Woj tweeted out that he's probably going to be fishing for as many second-rounders as possible tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, apparently it's free, cheap labor, so you might as well grab as many of those as you can. So, great.
This wouldn't be a Laker podcast if we didn't actually talk about how bad the Celtics are doing right now and how that's kind of been just flying under the radar, right? I mean, they're literally just like burning up over there, and nobody's talking about it really. It's
amazing. I mean, you just lost Al Horford. Opted out of $30 million. Al Horford.
That is insane.
I got to say it one more time. Al Horford opted out of $30 million. So he's obviously going to get a bigger deal somewhere else because there's so much money. So good for him. But that's a guy that's leaving the Celtics because of that. They're not going to re-sign Kyrie. They have an immense amount of draft picks that they're doing absolutely nothing with. They didn't get Anthony Davis. Everything is falling apart. Marcus Morris is going to leave because he said during the year, this isn't fun here. He's not enjoying his time in Boston. So that's not really looking good for them. Everything that's happening there has been negative So that's great to see.
Oh, and I'd gladly take Marcus Morris. So Marcus Morris, if you want to change coast, hey, come on over, man. We got a spot for you over here. You know,
he's clutch, right? He's a clutch client. All right. Yeah.
Oh, is he? Oh, I didn't even know that. Oh, even better.
He is. Both Morrises are, but don't put them both together. Apparently,
the Morai.
Well, another team that's sitting here floundering and, of course, getting no attention because of how bad the Lakers are doing apparently right now. The Houston Rockets. That article came out. With apparently, well, not article, but there was reports that James Harden wants Chris Paul out now, right? There was obviously that funny moment today with Skip Bayless sitting there talking about going off of that fake tweet.
How do you fall for that, man? Jeez, like I saw when he said it, I was like, is that sports talk Barry? I was like, what is he doing?
He is using guys talking about how he's upset with man boobs. Like, get out of here! You can't use that on national TV. You at least do some kind of research here. I'm hoping it was fake and he was doing it on purpose, but I don't think he was.
Give that man an Oscar. Give him an Oscar then, because oh my God. No, I mean that's not even like to top it off. He also said that he was farting on his pillow.
Right, yeah. It's like, come on, like how do you believe that stuff? I mean, but in all seriousness, it's just so funny how the Rockets are just falling apart from, their coach down to their players. I mean, Chris Paul brought this upon himself with that huge deal, and now if he actually does want out, it's going to be really hard to move him. But it's funny because today I ran across a video as well of Dwight Howard saying how he was so upset at James Harden because he kicked him out of Houston too. So it's like maybe there's a little bit of truth, behind the stories right now.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there is. I mean, it could be. I wouldn't be surprised. Chris Paul, apparently, from everything from people inside that talk about Chris Paul, they say, he's a very difficult person to get along with, and that's just kind of well known. So it wouldn't surprise me that him and Harden are not getting along. But it's apparently Daryl Morey came out and said it was news to him that CP3 wanted out. CP3 said that it was news to him that he wanted out all the same. You didn't hear from James Harden, though, but I guess that's one of those things where he doesn't have to say anything. But
at the same time, at the same time, we did hear that same stuff from the Clippers, how they weren't getting along. And then, everybody said, oh, it's actually fine. And boom, Chris Paul's out of there,
Yeah. Oh, dude, that was the worst. I mean, especially after the banana boat, not the banana boat. I'm sorry. The house takeover when they went to go grab DeAndre. Oh. For them to go and do that, and then for him to just literally, oh my God, that was just terrible, man. Terrible.
That whole thing. Emoji season is my favorite, though. I just love all of the different emojis that come out. Like today with Kyle Kuzma, where he had just the eyeballs, and then his mom, Carrie Kuzma, had all the eyeballs, and Jordan Clarkson went on with it. It was, I love that stuff.
Oh, dude, that's like. I know people don't like it, but it's just becoming it's getting to the point now where social media is where you're going to find all your relevant information, straight from the players' mouths, or their fingertips.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's fine.
It could mean nothing, but then at certain times it does mean something. So now you never know, man. You never know.
You know what? Actually, I think I figured it out. I think they were just talking about LD2K's video. The video had dropped today. That's what they were talking about.
That could have been it.
That video was absolute fire. I loved watching that video. He's so good at that stuff. And my favorite part, and I'm sure it was your guys' favorite part too, was right at the end. They show all these Lakers jerseys, and it flashes Laker jerseys. And you see Kyrie's jersey there in the Laker jersey, and then you see Kawhi right after it, and it flashes in, and you have to start thinking to yourself, well, which one is it going to be? And did you put that little Kawhi jersey in there for what reasoning?
Right.
I know. Love it. I think we got a guy who can answer that, right? Because from what I know, I think we got an inside scoop right here.
Oh yeah. What's that?
So basically, we're just deciding how we're going to integrate. Obviously, we don't have cap space for both, so we wanted to integrate what's maybe a closer possibility. So we put Kyrie in there because he fit the video so well with what Thanos was saying. But then when we got towards the end, we were kind of thinking, okay, you know what, Kawhi, there might be some strong rumblings behind there, so we might want to put a little something. And we found a perfect way to do it, man. I'm glad a lot of people caught that, and the video is amazing.
I did not, dude. I asked you. And you pointed it out, and I'm not even lying. I watched it 4 times, and I did not see it. 4
Yeah,
times.
Ray was like, where was this? I had a screenshot for him and send it into Slack so he could see it.
I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, my God. But yeah, for those of you guys who haven't seen the video, check out Chris Manning on Twitter. He goes by LD2K. We'll drop the link below this video after the pod. But, oh, my God, if you haven't seen it yet, actually, if we can get clearance if we get an okay from Chris, we'll just drop it at the end of this podcast. So people can actually tune in to YouTube and check it out.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah, because I mean, it was something that immediately I was watching it and I was like, oh, this is so good, and then all of a sudden, just a quick flash, and I was like, oh, whoa, I caught that.
Yeah, that was definitely worth the wait. Definitely worth the wait, man.
That's the old Damon Jones wink, huh?
Yeah.
Source, yeah.
Winking both eyes.
Right, yeah.
Hey, speaking of Damon Jones, holy crap! What went on with Ryan Hollins and Shaq the other day? Just kind of getting off topic, but they were talking about the Mount Rushmore of players, and he was talking about how LeBron would be on there that he would definitely be on the Lakers Mount Rushmore. Dude, how crazy is that to have Shaquille O'Neal sitting across from you with 3 Laker championships, telling you he's not on the Mount Rushmore, and you got Ryan Hollins over here spouting at the mouth talking about that LeBron's in there.
Like how are you putting LeBron James, who has been here 1 year, he missed 19 of 20 games and then missed the end of the season as well. There's been not enough time. Just because he may be one of the best players of all time, you can debate whether he is the best player of all time. He is not anywhere near on the top 4 of the best Lakers of all time. Most of these guys that are on there were Lakers for years upon years, or possibly their entire career. You're talking like Jerry West. You're talking Wilt, who wasn't with them forever, but he was still a Laker. Mm-hmm. You're talking Kobe, who was his entire year. Like Magic, Kareem. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Shaq, it's ridiculous.
Well, no, that's Shaq. Ryan Hollins.
Right, no, I know. I'm saying Shaq would have been on there before.
Oh, my bad. Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan Hollins was just, he I like Ryan Hollins as far as, he goes on and he kind of does his thing. So, you got to appreciate that from him. But, man, some of these takes that he was saying, like, Michael Jordan and LeBron, you just skip over Kobe, like if he's nothing, things like that is kind of like, oh, man, it's a little questionable,
Yeah, you don't just skip over Kobe for anything. Kobe was right after Jordan and really changed the game, just like Jordan changed the game. There are players that are probably better than Kobe, but still, he was an incredible player. He's getting 2 numbers retired. He has 5 championships. He's not nothing. All right. You don't just skip over that.
Yeah. And he's impacted the game. It's not even just like play. He's actually impacted the game. Very few players have. Magic, LeBron has, I would say as well. But like we were talking about, there's no way he can get there. I do agree with what Shaq said, which is if he can win 3 in a row, then you put him on there. I completely agree with that. Yeah.
It's a 3-peat. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, 3-peat. Yeah, at his age, he's 34 right now. He's going to be 35 at the end of the year. Like, yeah, if you win 3 championships to your 37, 38-year-old season, okay. Yeah, you belong.
Yeah.
What I want to do is after this whole thing gets sorted out and we figure out, if Kawhi is going to be here or Kyrie's going to be here, I want to go back and I want to watch all these videos of LeBron in the offseason dancing, grooving at some shop, dancing in his house, rapping in his car, just having a great time. I just want to rewatch that because then it's just gonna give me a whole different perspective to it. This entire time he's got to know something, man. He's got to know something. There's no way.
He's been knowing, yeah. He's been way too happy, unfazed, missed the playoffs, doesn't care, he's not missing a beat. And hey, man, he probably saw this coming as we did as well, and maybe there's something else coming, still on the way.
I think that's part of what we're seeing here is that they know something that we don't know, and we're pretty much clear that they know something that we don't know. And so for us to sit back and just say, like, and listen to all these different insiders that are saying, I think this, I think that, we have to have at some point, we have to trust that Rob Pelinka knows what he's doing, even if he doesn't know what he's doing. Right. Everything that we're finding out, about what's happening, about how he didn't put July 30th into the deal and all these different things, he's just trying to figure it out. You have to trust that he's going to get the right thing done. If he can get to the $32.5 million, 32.7, I hate figuring out exactly what the numbers are, but if he can get there, then you have to trust that he will make the right decision with those at this point.
So
and I don't care what everybody else says.
So at that point, do we hold a Rob Pelinka parade after the Laker parade?
No.
We weren't Laker fans pretty much lining up in front of Staples Center asking for the Lakers to sell or for Jeannie Buss to sell?
Oh man, that was crazy. That was like 10
I
people.
actually forgot that even happened, man. How quickly things changed, right? We went from everybody just, begging for Jeannie to leave, doing this, I guess, protests outside of Staples Center, to now having Anthony Davis and LeBron.
Tens of people.
Yeah, tens of people out there. Greg Bergman was actually one of them. Videos out there, protesting.
Yeah. I heard you came back with some face paint.
Oh yeah,
was that you?
Fire Rob. End the Ramby.
I'm just saying there better be a lot of apologies on Twitter going around once we're hoisting that trophy up.
Okay, I deleted all my tweets.
Hey, they're never deleted. They can find them.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
We'll put Rob Pelinka maybe on Mount Rushmore of the Lakers too.
I don't know.
Oh boy.
Real quick, right before we're gonna get off, but I wanted to run this one player by you guys. Patrick Beverley. Yes or no?
It depends. And yes, I would love to have Patrick Beverley. That's the type of guy that you really, really need on a team that's just a really good defender. Can just get into people's heads. He got into Lonzo's head in his very first game and just completely threw him off. I would love to have him on this team. I just think he's going to demand too much money, and he's not going to take a veteran's minimum. You're not going to get him cheap. Yeah. So at that point, I think he may just be out of our price range.
Yeah, because I don't think he's taking anything less than 12 to 10. Anywhere in the 10 to 12 million range is where he's probably going to end up. Best case, I think.
Yeah, best case.
Yeah, in a perfect world, I mean, you would get Patrick Beverley because, I mean, he's a player you hate when he's not on your team, but a player you love when he's on your team.
So much.
Not only did he get in Lonzo's head, I mean, Kevin Durant, we saw him, bother LeBron too in one of the games here this past season, but that video where he said he's going to chase the bag and where they were asking him basically where he's going to go, he said whatever pays more. Might be out of our range, but I would love to have him on the team.
Right. I mean, if he gets, 4 for 80, that's not going to be with the Lakers.
Oh, yeah.
So he's very much money hunting, as he should. He absolutely should. When you're that type of player, go after it.
Yeah. No, he earned his keep for sure last year, and I think he showed his value on that Clipper team last year. So I think there was a tweet going around where he said something, and somebody responded with, well, if you want to stay, you should take the vet minimum. And he just pretty much was like, nope, no chance.
Yeah, he's like, vet minimum, ha, 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 ha.
Yeah, like, no, I would want every cent I could get. So, as much as I don't like him as an opposing player, hey, I'm not hating on his hustle, man. Get it.
Nope, those are the types of guys that should do it. Absolutely. Get your money.
Yeah, so let's wrap it up right here, guys. We got a lot coming up in the next week, probably tomorrow, actually, the next 24 to 48 hours. We're going to have a ton to talk about. I don't really know what else to say other than I'm glad that we can move forward from AD to LA to AD in LA.
You're going to have basically these same exact conversations next week, but it'll be about Kawhi or someone else. Or just get ready for next Wednesday.
Next week is going to be crazy.
I can't even get through this Wednesday, Greg, and you're already having me work next Wednesday? Holy man. All right, guys. Well, let's wrap it up here. Obviously, we want to thank Mr. Greg Bergman for showing up. Make sure you catch him on the Blue Review Dodgers postgame show, which is what at this point it's every Wednesday after the game.
Yep, every Wednesday after the game, or if the game's early, just at 7:00.
Yeah, and he's going to get started back up pretty soon with the Showtime Forum as well. He'll probably do a couple of live feeds coming up. If you want to catch us, make sure, like I said, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. You can catch us at Showtime Forum. If you want to link up with the podcast, make sure you follow us on Spotify, iTunes, what else we got? Google Podcasts, Anchor, all that stuff. So just make sure you listen. Doesn't matter where you're at. I know Javi's, this is Javi's favorite part, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, please, follow us. Just click whatever it is that has to do with Showtime Forum. We don't care if you see it, if you read it, just click it. We're struggling artists. We do this for free.
Yeah,
it's not easy. We just make it look easy. That whole spiel. Yeah.
Ooh, man, that was good. Holy moly.
Learn from the best.
Oh, well, learn from the mediocre. from the All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. This has been episode 13 of the Showtime Forum podcast. I am your host, Rayla Barbone, along with Golden IG Effects. Catch us next week. We'll be here. Hopefully you are too. We're out.
If we do this, we'd be going in short-handed.
Yeah, you mean because he killed all our friends?
We owe this to everyone who's not in this room to try.
It's not about how much we lost. It's about how much we have left. We're the Avengers. We gotta finish this. You trust me? I do. You could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me.